Ladies and gentlemen, you've made a great choice by clicking on this video. Today we are diving once again into the absolute shit show that is professional Counter-Strike. And please ignore the fact that I cut my finger. Since you guys really liked part 1, it's time to explain another group of CS2 riflers. Last time we talked about players like Donk or Nico. This time around we've got 10 new faces joining the circus. Some of them are rising superstars, some are the most underrated guys in the game, and some are just absolute weirdos. So grab your popcorn, sit back and enjoy a funny but also slightly educational breakdown of some of the most interesting riflers in CS2. We are starting part 2 exactly the same way part 1 did, with a young, Russian, only rifle-faced demon. At least this one has a better hairstyle. Seriously though, do they just manufacture these guys in a lab? I decided to check the stats, and in the top 1000 players on Faceit, about 300 of them are one nationality. You can probably guess which one it is. kyousuke was easily the hottest prospect any tier 1 organization could sign in 2025. And if you remember the hype around him, he might actually be the most hyped rookie ever. He was discovered by Overdrive, the same Spirit analyst who also spotted Donk, and gained most of his early recognition through Spirit Academy, which at this point might as well be called the Harvard of Counter-Strike talent development. Naturally, a player of this caliber wasn't going to stay in an academy team that wasn't even performing well. And that's how his Russian friend mezii convinced him to join Team Falcons, because now they'll be able to win everything with the power of friendship. Alright, who am I kidding? He probably retired his entire family at the age of 17 with the amount of oil money Falcons offered him. Look, I'm not sure people truly understand the aura kyousuke has. The greatest rifler of all time, Nico, literally gave up most of his star positions just so kyousuke could play the roles that suit him best. That's how much raw talent and mechanical skill this kid has. And even after all of Nico's sacrifices, kyousuke is now trying to steal Nico's boyfriend? That's just shameless. Now, even though he's been performing really well, I would say that so far kyousuke has fallen just slightly short of the hype around him. He didn't make the HLTV top 20 list last year, but that's totally understandable considering he only joined Falcons in mid-2025. kyousuke has been absolutely farming weaker teams and group stage matches. Some of the stat lines he put up are honestly absurd. However, since he's in the same team with Nico, the biggest moments seem to be his kryptonite. But again, that might just be the Nico effect, and it's hard to blame kyousuke for that. We have to let him get some experience first. Not everyone is Donk. And speaking of Donk, I'm sure a lot of you have him as your favorite player, and rightfully so, he's absolutely cracked. But do you know who your favorite player actually is? Yeah, according to Magix, Donk is apparently in the official kyousuke fan club, alongside Magix himself, Zwei, and 2 completely random dudes. But then again, Magix also once said that kyousuke might dominate Zaiwu. I'm not sure if he meant dominating on the server or maybe something else, but so far that prediction hasn't exactly worked out. Besides that, kyousuke is slowly reaching the same hairstyle level that Donk is on, which is, please just go to the barber one fucking time. These 2 pictures are just 1 year apart. He looks like a completely different human being. Oh, and kyousuke has apparently been smoking since he was 14. And let me get this straight, this isn't tough, this is just unhealthy. And he also posts these weird cringe TikToks. And the worst part is, I don't know which one is worse anymore, him smoking or this bullshit. To his defense, he is only 18 and we all did some cringe stuff at that age, but someone has to give him a reality check really soon. Before we move on, since everyone has been comparing kyousuke to Donk ever since Overdrive discovered him, let's quickly compare these 2. Both are Russian, both are insanely good mechanically, both were discovered by Overdrive, and both use identical setups. But kyousuke first started playing CS at the age of 11, introduced to Counter-Strike by his older brother. Meanwhile, Donk started playing CS at the age of 4, also introduced to CS by his older brother. So what did we learn from this comparison? Apparently, to become insane at Counter-Strike, you need 2 things. First, an older brother who introduces you to the game, and second, start playing as early as possible. In fact, if you start the moment you're born, you'll have a 4-year head start over Donk. Good luck, you can do it. Listen, I gotta be honest here. YEKINDAR making a tier 1 comeback in late 2025 was not something I expected to see. And it's not because I'm a hater. Quite the opposite, I'm actually super happy about it. Yeki is one of the most likable guys we have on the pro scene. I just didn't think anyone could come back from prison and still be the same person they were before. with prison being Team Liquid, of course. I mean, this is not even a prison, it's a whole circus. I mean, Lulquid really thought it was a good idea to have YEKINDAR be the IGL, the entry fragger, and the loudest voice on the team at the same time. I'm honestly surprised he even had the mental energy left to click the mouse. Before his days were numbered on Liquid though, YEKINDAR learned under the guidance of Jesus of Counter-Strike himself, Jame. He spent 2 really great years on Virtus Pro, where he established himself as one of the most aggressive and impactful entry fraggers in the world. And then literally bought himself out of his own contract for almost $1 million just to join Team Liquid. I mean, the joke just writes itself. He went from a contract jail to a shit team jail. But once he joined Furia and linked up with Professor Fallen, the insane Brazilian rifling duo in Keiserato and Yuri, and this random kid called Molodoy, we finally got to see the real YEKINDAR again, and that means doing what YEKINDAR does best. Holding W on both city side and T side, entering, dying, and creating an ungodly amount of space for his teammates. YEKINDAR is also part of the minority of pro players, alongside Robs, who play on the 16:9 resolution, and is also known for having his face inside the monitor. Yes, inside the monitor. This is actually a secret that only me and YEKINDAR know, but if you sit close enough to your monitor, you can actually smell the enemies through the screen. No, but seriously, how do you play like this and not go blind before the age of 25? Fallen even mentioned in an ESL video that YEKINDAR can't see the kill feed properly, so his teammates actually have to tell him when they die.
When he joined the team, he told us that we would have to communicate that we are dead sometimes. You know? Really? Like we're doing a setup and then we got killed. Like he doesn't even check who killed who, right? Like did you kill or did you get killed? So he told us that he eventually would need to say, hey, I'm dead. But
jokes aside, on the server, YEKINDAR provides more than just his hyper-aggressive playstyle. He also contributes massively as a secondary caller and organizes moves on the city side. That skill alone makes him a very valuable player to have. Hi guys, it's me. Oh, sorry. Hi guys, it's me again. Alright, listen, since you've already watched this far, then you probably like the video, so if you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel, please. Also, I've got a pretty cool Discord server with pretty cool people in it, so if you're a pretty cool person and want to have pretty cool conversations, join the server. The link is in the description, and now let's go back to the video. Alright lads, tea time is over, time to explain the British GOAT right now innit, or as Apex likes to call him, British player! Oh my god! He is arguably the best support in the world and alright, yeah, I can't do this any longer. Mezii is arguably the best support in the world, and he thrives in positions where teams usually hide their weakest player, like Nuke A side or Mirage B side. Even though I'm a B anchor myself, and someone finally needs to say this, B Mirage players deserve more respect. Mezii ends up playing these spots because Apex puts himself in star roles on the city side to get a better understanding of what to call during the round, and he probably wants some more kills for himself too. But either way, someone has to play those difficult anchor spots anyway. Mezii is also Apex's favorite teammate of all time. In Vitality's voice comms, you can often hear Mezii being the positive voice on the team, and that's something we don't see on the stat sheet, but every team needs someone like this. Every team needs a Mezii.
Okay. You.
The funniest thing with Mezii though is his absolutely cursed config. Using the keyboard to move is a bit too easy. Let me just bind walking forward to mouse 2? Yeah, jumping with space is completely overrated. Let's bind jump to A and put moving backwards on spacebar instead. Yes, that's genius! No, but seriously, I actually tried his config once and it's not that bad. It's absolutely dogshit. Mezii also has some unconventional warm-up techniques. I just know that after this combo he was completely out of breath. I mean, just look at the way he walks it off afterwards. Kyousuke, you better stop smoking now or you're going to end up like Grandpa Mezii over here. Before joining Vitality, however, Mezii made a name for himself on this completely random Cloud9 lineup. I still have no clue who thought that this team would be a good idea, but we now know that Henry G was the GM of Cloud9 at that point, so maybe some British nepotism was going on around here, I don't know. But more importantly, he also had a strong period on Fnatic. There he put up some insane numbers and was even an IGL for a short period of time. Now he's a 2-time major winner, finished 12th on the HLTV top 20 list, and it's safe to say that Britain has finally produced a good Counter-Strike player. I've actually had a few angry mouse fans, which do surprisingly exist, believe it or not, ask me, Biley, why wasn't there a mouse player in part 1? And honestly, I'm not even going to make a joke about it, because most of these guys are just so auraless. There's literally nothing interesting to talk about. Well, apart from Jimmy, he's pretty cool.
One AK for Nico.
Guys, keep it up. Keep it up. They took timeout. They're fucking shaking, boys. Fucking noobs.
Jimpphat is one of the best anchors in the world, and he's still only 19 years old, even though he looks 50. His form recently dipped a little compared to when he first joined Mouse, but still, even with his recent struggles, he's considered an elite talent in his role. Which again, being a good anchor like Mezii or myself, it's pretty difficult. Jimmy has been so good in that role that rumors about Falcons trying to buy him still pop up every few months. Personality-wise, he is just like you would expect a Finnish person to be. Completely emotionless. And that's probably part of why he's so good in his role. He doesn't need a lot of action to have impact. But now it's finally time to address the elephant in the room. I think most of you know that Jimmy had an interesting incident. Once on the lovely platform X, also known as Twitter, he retweeted corn. Yep, corn. It was later revealed that Spinx, his coach, actually tweeted it from Jimmy's account. I have no idea why anyone would do that, but he must have lost a really serious bet. But to be fair, Jimmy handled the situation like a true professional, playing into the meme and giving us some funny and legendary moments. I guess that's one way to have cultural impact on the game. Many people forget that, but just like Dong and kyousuke, he was also introduced to the game by his older brother. But his brother wasn't just some random player. His nickname was Sergey, and back when the Finnish scene exploded in CSGO, ENCE reached the major final in Katowice 2019 with a lineup that included Alexi B, Alu, and Sergey. He even finished 13th on the HLTV top 20 list that year. Counter-Strike clearly runs in the family's blood. So does the addiction to corn. Our next rifler is Spinx, Jimmy's newest teammate and the only guy alongside Blaymev who has been called a baiter so many times that it basically became his official role. Spinx first became relevant when he was playing for ENCE, because that team constantly kept exceeding expectations. Seriously, every tournament people would go, yeah, ENCE will probably finish like top 8 or something. Boom, second place. It's the major, bro, there's no way ENCE make it to the playoffs. Boom, third place. They were even ranked as the second best team in the HLTV ranking. And if you actually watched those games, it was pretty obvious why. These boys were talented, with Spinx being the guy on that team. Which is why Vitality picked him up in 2022. He spent almost 3 years there and in that time won a major and multiple important tier 1 tournaments. He also placed 5th on the 2023 HLTV top 20 list, which is ridiculously high considering he was playing alongside ZywOo, the guy who always gets every MVP in existence. So everything was going great, which raises the question, why did he leave? Well, at first there were rumors that he had problems with mezii, which would have definitely got mezii's British drillers involved, but Spinx later clarified that this wasn't true at all. Apex explained that the reason was actually pretty straightforward. Spinx just wanted to play a more aggressive role than the one he had on Vitality, and Apex simply couldn't make that happen with the other pieces on the team. You see, Spinx has always had the baiter label attached to him, but he's a really good lurker. And to be fair, that word gets thrown around a lot with lurkers in general, since they're often the last one alive if the execute fails. Which is why his move to Mouse made a lot of sense. They already had Jimmy, who plays a slower lurking style on T-side, which allows Spinx to be much more active than he was on Vitality. Turns out that sometimes a roster move can just make sense for both sides. With all that said, Apex still loves to give Spinx some shit during their matches against each other. Apex basically behaves like that one annoying ex who keeps bringing up the past. And Spinx, brother, we're with you. It definitely hurts a little after watching Vitality go on a historic run and win everything right after you leave the team. Since we've already covered the smoking goat and the best baiter in the world, it's time to talk about the best Asian player in the history of Counter-Strike, Senzu. And honestly, I don't even think that's a hot take. He's the only Asian player ever to make the HLTV top 20 list, finishing 13th last year. Senzu is an absolutely elite rifler, and he was one of the biggest reasons behind the Mongols' rise over the past few years. And personally, I think that's my favorite storyline that we've ever had in CS. This team went from being a cool regional story to being underdogs at every tournament to eventually becoming the best team in the world and winning the Esports World Cup in 2025. I think everyone was rooting for these guys. If you weren't, nobody liked you at school. And just like with Spinx, everything seemed to be going great. And then out of nowhere, the Mongols suddenly benched their star player overnight. To this day, we still don't really know the exact reason why it happened. So I'm not going to speculate and spread misinformation on the internet, even though I absolutely love doing that. I was just a little worried that some old scandal might come back to haunt him, like the one from 2023, when Senzu was accused by Team NKT of being involved in a fraud scheme. Yeah, I thought he's a sweet, innocent guy too. Apparently he had some questionable things he did in the past. But as you would expect, rumors about where Senzu would go next started circulating almost immediately after the benching. Personally, I thought the most likely scenario was that he just needed a break and would eventually return to the Mongols starting lineup in 2026. But I couldn't have been more wrong. Once the Mongols signed Cobra Zira, it became pretty clear that Senzu was not coming back. Then, in February 2026, another surprising move happened. Senzu decided to join Passion UA, aka X Complexity. Now, on paper, this definitely looks like a downgrade, but realistically, there probably weren't many tier 1 teams willing to take the risk with Senzu. Why was the signing risky, you might ask? Well, Senzu's English is still very limited, and communication at the tier 1 level is infinitely more important than in your Face It level 5 games. So now he basically has to prove himself all over again. But judging by the numbers from his debut with Passion UA, it looks like he's still the same cracked player he was on the Mongols. And if you need proof of how good this guy can be, Senzu holds the record for the most kills on a single map at a major during regulation, with 36 kills in 24 rounds against G2 at the Blast Austin Major, which just proves how insanely talented this guy really is. Now let's hope he can show the same level in an international roster, and sooner or later, we'll probably see him back on one of the best teams in the world. Finally, this guy decided to come back from his break, so we can talk about one of the coolest players we have on the scene, Miroslav Zontics. I don't know about you, but when I just look at this dude, I can literally feel the aura filling me up. Zontics is known in the pro scene as the Bodyshot King, or the Bodyshot Merchant, depending on whether you like him or not, and I don't think I need to explain much about that title, just look at his headshot percentage. Even if you weren't trying to go for headshots, getting 40% would still be ridiculously low. At this point, I'm convinced he's doing it deliberately just to style on his enemies. I imagine when Dong sees Zontics getting kills, it's kind of like watching a goalkeeper use his hands in football. Like, you know it's legal, but it still looks hella weird. You would think playing like that wouldn't work at the tier 1 level, but oh boy, it absolutely does. Zontics already has a major title, a Cologne title and a Katowice title, and he's widely regarded as one of the best anchors and clutch players in the game. All that at just 20 years of age. So with all these accomplishments, you could say that this guy is pretty talented, right? Well, listen to this one. According to Zontics himself, he reached 3000 elo on Faceit with only 600 hours in the game. Look, at 600 hours, you, me and everyone we know were still stuck in Gold Nova, if not Silver. Now I'm not calling him a liar, but that sounds like your childhood friend telling you he has a girlfriend who goes to a different school, so you'll never meet her anyway. And speaking of girlfriends, Zontics is kind of a celebrity amongst Asian women. Seems like someone is hitting body shots on and off the server. By the way, that roundtable clip you saw earlier might be the first time I've ever seen Zontics smile since he joined Team Spirit. I don't know why, but the more this guy wins, the less he smiles. It's either a sign of being completely locked in, or just what I like to call the anchor syndrome, where anchor players are apparently not allowed to show any emotions whatsoever. And just like his teammate Shiro, he also gives amazing interviews.
Did you expect to be playing Blast Open with the team?
Yes.
And can you share with us what your future with Team Spirit is?
No.
So far in this video, I've said things like, oh, you know, Jimmy is one of the best anchors in the world. Zontics, yeah, he's also one of the best anchors in the world. But mezii is also one of the best anchors in the world. But HeavyGod is actually the best true anchor in the world. There, I said it. Now you might ask, what the flip is a true anchor? Well, HeavyGod plays every anchor position on every map, giving him a purity anchor rating of 100%. HeavyGod has been an absolute unit on and off the server for quite some time now, but I still feel like he's underrated by the CS community. If you appreciate good Counter-Strike, you know how good HeavyGod actually is. I know, he missed out on the HLTV top 20 list last year, but even Ima made it in there, so it seems like HLTV doesn't even know ball. He's also had a bit of a cursed career, in my opinion. First of all, it seems like he really loves joining teams with two-letter names. OG, C9, G2. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but the pattern is definitely there. But more importantly, that Cloud9 roster actually had the potential to be a really strong tier 1 team. Unfortunately, they didn't achieve anything. Then he finally joined a top organization in G2 to play alongside mezii, which looked amazing on paper. and then m0NESY left. Now he's once again stuck on a team that isn't bad but also can't really contend for titles, and in my opinion he's the main reason G2 are still even competitive in tier 1. Apart from that, HeavyGod has one of the most fitting nicknames in the entire scene, alongside Dick Stacy, if Dick Stacy had a girlfriend named Stacy. Also, whenever he gets an insane game or series, people call him HeavyGod, and I'm not gonna lie, that's cool as fuck. One last random fact about him is that he's Israeli, but can also speak Russian, which is kind of a random combo, but it must have been pretty useful in a game like Counter-Strike. Next up is the only North American representative in today's video, NAF, or as I like to call him by a different 3-letter word, Unk. It's because he's been in Tier 1 CS since 2016, when he was on Optic Gaming alongside Tarek. I'm just glad only one of them switched to Valorant.
This guy can't see anything, he sees blue. This guy sees yellow. He sees something, he's flash. This guy peeks. I kill. I can see. I can't see. This guy's casting a spell. More smokes, more rain, more lasers from the sky. Green, this guy's a dog.
NAF was also part of the best North American lineup ever, the legendary 2019 Team Liquid roster. And he's been on Liquid ever since. That team won pretty much every important Tier 1 tournament imaginable, including the Intel Grand Slam. And I think that stretch just used all their luck. The last couple of years have been really rough for both him and Liquid. And I mean, really rough. I'm not even sure this team is trying to win anymore. So we really can't blame NAF for saying that he would like to play for a European team at some point, probably inspired by Twist's success with FaZe. But in today's Counter-Strike scene, I highly doubt that will actually happen, because let's be honest, what top EU team is going to take a chance on a 20-year-old, half-washed NAF? But one thing you would get with NAF is a lot of fans, because he has a surprisingly large and loyal fanbase. And it makes perfect sense, NAF is just a super down-to-earth guy. He's basically the human embodiment of the "I'm just a chill guy" meme. And whenever his POV or face appears on the broadcast during a match, Twitch chat instantly starts spamming sloth emotes. Team Liquid and NAF leaned into the sloth meme so hard that they produced a documentary about NAF's life called Sloth Life, where NAF literally goes to a zoo to visit a real sloth. His teammates and girlfriend have since confirmed that he goes there before every game to hang out with his sloth friends. But NAF wasn't always this chill and innocent, because his nickname actually stands for Nutty as Fuck, which he came up with as a teenager, and it's most likely the only edgy thing about his personality today. But that's only part of the story. His full nickname is actually NAF-FLY. And no, this fly suffix isn't there just to sound cool. It is actually a tribute to his former teammate Joshua Brundlefly Switzer, who tragically died in an accident in 2012. NAF and his teammates added the fly tag to their names to honor him. He later shortened it back to just NAF for his official major stickers, but the fact that he kept it around for so long just shows how much that friendship meant to him. Once a sloth, always a sloth. Let me just say up front that Frozen has the best outfits in the entire pro scene, and it's not even close. At this point, the only reason HLTV hasn't created a Drip of the Year award is because it would completely be non-competitive. Frozen would just win it every single year. He also has the fastest hairstyle in the scene. My man literally looks like Speedy Gonzalez but in real life. But he's arguably got even more swag on the server. Frozen is easily one of the best riflers in the game right now. His aim is insane, and more importantly, he's ridiculously consistent. The guy almost never has a bad event, and you can always count on him to show up. Now Frozen is just 23, but when you look at his team history, he might seem like a veteran. And that's because he actually signed his first professional contract when he was just 13 years old. He also made FACEIT Pro League at the same age. He was winning the biggest local tournaments while most kids his age were still trying to figure out how to buy Kevlar and helmet at the same time. He was actually so good that it even got him banned. He couldn't participate in IEM Katowice 2017 because he was under the minimum age of 16. This means he just had to wait around and grind FPL because he was too good too quickly for the pro scene. Once he finally turned 16, he joined mousesports, where he stayed for 4.5 years. This wasn't just a business relationship for Frozen, this was pure loyalty. During that time, he saw players like Robs, Kerrigan and Woxic come and go, before eventually deciding to leave himself. And when he did switch teams, he reunited with his former teammates Kerrigan and Robs on FaZe Clan. On paper, that FaZe lineup looked absolutely unbeatable. But as of 2026, Frozen unfortunately holds a heartbreaking record. Alongside Hall of Fame caliber players like Guardian, Flamey and Edward, he is one of the players with the most major final appearances without actually lifting the trophy. But despite FaZe struggling massively recently, Frozen has still made the HLTV top 20 list multiple times. Even in 2025, when FaZe were playing some of the worst Counter-Strike I've ever seen. Which makes the situation even weirder, because having Frozen and Twist on the same team should automatically make you a good tier 1 team. Yet somehow FaZe still managed to disappoint everyone. But one thing I am absolutely certain about, this is not Frozen's fault. He's the only player on this goofy ass team who consistently performs well. I just hope that maybe one day Frozen will finally break that unfortunate record and win a major. So Frozen, if you're watching this, don't ever team up with Nico. That curse is real. And that's it for part 2 of every rifler in CS2 explained. Let me know which one from this list is your favorite in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and never forget, start playing CS the moment you're born, and maybe you'll find yourself in the next episode.